Hi, it's Pete's Perfect Food, back again with another cracking little video for you, and today is one of my other favourite jams ever. It's raspberry and amaretto. I got the inspiration from having a bakewell tart, so I thought the raspberry and the almond worked really well together in a jam. Tried it, worked, kind of fluky, but it's amazing. So I'm going to show you how to do it today, so let's hop into it. So here's the ingredients. I've got a kilo of frozen raspberries. Now the reason I bought frozen raspberries, two reasons, is one, it's cheaper than buying fresh. Number two, they're just as good for making jam with. And number three, you're almost guaranteed to have a set with raspberry jam because it's really high in pectin, and so that's another good plus. But also, you're going to save some money, which is always nice. So that's a kilo of granulated sugar, some amaretto, but if you've got Serrano, it's exactly the same thing, so please, either one is fine. And I've got my nice big jar ready to be sterilised. Right, so first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split both the sugar and the jam into two pans so it cooks quicker, and I personally find it's a little bit easier to manage. I'm also going to give each one a shot of amaretto in the end, but I'll show you what to do with that. The other thing I have done, I've just got a bog standard plate, and that's going to go in the fridge in a minute, so that once it's got nice and cold, you check it for a set, and I'll show you exactly how you check for a set on that as well. And I'm also going to show you how to sterilise a jar to make sure it's all nice and sterilised and it'll last longer. Right, so as you can see, I've just split off the raspberries into two pans. I'm literally going to start warming them up first. So what it does is release a bit of juice, so when you add the sugar to it, it's got something to absorb the sugar, and it should set a little bit easier later on. The other good thing about doing raspberry jam is it's one of the best jams to start with, because you're almost guaranteed a set with this. As long as you follow what I've told you, you will get a set and you'll have a really nice beautiful jam. Right, so what I've done is I've just started off the heating of the pans. It's on a medium heat, so if you've got gas, do it about halfway up. That's fine, just to get the fruit started going. And then what you'll do is, once you'll see some liquid at the bottom, and I'll show you what to do, put half the sugar in, and then you're going to let it do a rolling boil. And what that means is you'll start bubbling rapidly, but what you want to look for is it's going to look like lava, and nice big fat bubbles, and that's what's going to show you it's near enough ready for a set. Right, so as you can see, it's literally been about 2 minutes and it's already starting to release a bit of juice, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer, so maybe 3 to 4 minutes, it could up to be 5 minutes to be honest. And I want to release a little bit more juice, and like I say, then the sugar will go straight in and then it'll be ready to start doing a rolling boil with. So like I say, where I got the inspiration for this one was a bakewell tart, which sounds a bit mad, but I had raspberry jam with the almond sponge, and it just worked so beautifully together, and I just thought that might work as a jam, and I don't know why, this is how my brain worked. And like I say, a raspberry jam sets really well, and all you have to do right at the end is when you're just about to boil up, you put 2 shots of amaretto in. If that's too much for you, you can do 1, personal preference, and again, you can play with that, you might do 1.5. It depends on your palate, to be honest. I think 2 shots is quite nice for me. I could like it all the way through, but because mine's a slightly bigger batch than normal, then I do need more. If you're only doing 500, do a little bit less. So just play with that and see how you get on. Right, so there's another couple minutes and it's starting to get a little bit more juice now, so I'm going to give it 1 more minute. The fruit is starting to get all glossy, I like to call it. Don't know if that's a technical term, but I like to use it. And it's starting to produce some nice juice at the bottom. So if you can see here, that's what you want. You want to start again, letting it release its juice. So I say next 30 to 60 seconds, I'm going to put the sugar in. Right, so it's had the 60 seconds. I've just added in the half the sugar, so it's 500 grams per pan. Because I've got 2 pans, I just find it a lot easier. I'm just going to bash it all up so that the fruit and the sugar mixes really quickly together. That's exactly what you want. But it will come together quite nicely. So at this point I'm going to whack on the oven at 140 and start thinking about sterilising my jar, because it takes 15 minutes to sterilise a jar. Alternatively, if you've got a dishwasher, 1 quick cycle on a hot wash will do the job just as good. Right, so this is my jar of choice. It's a very big old-fashioned kilner jar. I've had this for years and years and years, and it seems to do a trick every single time. The only thing you've got to remember is take the rubber ring off the seal while it's getting sterilised, because you don't want to ruin the seal, otherwise it gets battered in over time and you have to replace it. But I'm going to put this in the oven in a second once it's got up to temperature, and it's going to be sterilised for 15 minutes. Right, so as you can see, the raspberries have already started to absorb the sugar now, so it's on a nice steady heat. It's starting to absorb quite nicely. So what we want to do is try and get up to a rolling boil. So I'm going to turn up a little bit higher. So I've gone on to 5 on the ceramics. If you've got a gas hob, try and go up to medium-high heat. Again, you'll know your stove top better than I will. Right, so the next thing I've got to do is get my little plate. I'm going to bang it in the old fridge for a few minutes just to cool it right down. So what this does is it almost activates the set, and when you do it, when you get it out of the fridge with the liquid from the jam, what you want to find is a crinkle, but I'm going to show you exactly what that means, and then once you've got that, you'll know the jam is absolutely perfectly set. Now I'm going to have 2 lots on here because obviously I've got 2 pans. I'll do one side and one the other side, and I'll show you both in a minute. Right, so as you can see, this is now on a nice rolling boil. So what you're looking for is the bubbles right now are quite small, and what will happen is over the next 5 to 7, maybe even 8 minutes, it's going to start getting bigger and bigger, and when it looks like it's molten lava, and you know what I mean by it, it's a big blob of a bubble, and I'll show you what that means. It's not very descriptive, but again, it will show you what exactly you're looking for. This is the other pan. It's just starting to go up, so the back one's going a bit quicker than the front one, but that's okay, that's not a problem, as long as you keep an eye on it. The only other thing I will say is don't have your kids around this stuff because it is like molten lava, and please do not let them have any of it just after you've cooked it, because it will burn their mouths, and we don't want that. It's not very fair. Right, so that's another 2 minutes, and if you can start smelling this, it smells absolutely beautiful. Now this is starting to be on a nice rapid boil, so I'm going to turn it down to 4 just to make sure it doesn't burn over the top, because otherwise it's an absolute mess to deal with, and I don't want to deal with that tonight. Like I say, it's starting to get nice big fat bubbles now. Now that's a good sign for me. It's on its way for being to a nice good set. Again, with having a little less in the pans, it does take a little bit quicker than if you had a bigger pan. Right, so all I've done now is literally got a board out ready, so that when I take the jar out, it's somewhere nice to stay onto, and if any hot jam gets onto a board, it's easy to wipe off or clean down afterwards, so it's probably safer to do it than anything else. Right, so as you can see now, it's starting to get to nearly being a lava stage. It'll probably, within the next 2 minutes, will be hopefully at a setting point, and you can check it. And then what we'll do is, as soon as you do go for a check of the set, you always straight away turn off the heat and let this jam just settle down. Now sometimes you'll find that it almost starts producing a skin, and if it starts producing a skin, that's a very good sign that it's set as well. Right, so all I've done here is measured up 50 ml of the amaretto. So again, what will happen is I will put all that in at the end with the jam, and it'll absolutely be beautiful. And I love the fact that it's amaretto. I mean, you could use other things, you could use Jack Daniels. I've not tried that one, but I think that'll be really quite nice, the honey one. But again, you can play with this. You could do gin with this, will be really nice. Just plain old gin with raspberry would be amazing. So I want to hear from you guys, what combinations would you use for different jams? I mean, I think gin and raspberry would be really nice. Like it's done vanilla and strawberry, again, it's really nice. So I want to know in the comments down from you guys, what sort of things would you put together? I would love to hear from you. Right, so as you can see, this is nearly at that point where I think that's nearly ready for a set. So as you can see, it's starting to really do bigger bubbles now. When it slows down a little tiny bit more, that's when I'll try for a set, because I think that'll be when it'll be ready. So you can see in the corners here, they're starting to be really big bubbles. So it's looking good for a set. The other thing I will do as well is I'm going to, around the edge there's a little bit of scum, I'm going to remove that as well, because you don't want that on your jam, because otherwise it's just horrible and no one needs it. and for the sake of 20-30 seconds of just removing it, that's fine. The alternative is you could put a little knob of butter in. For some reason, I don't know why this works, it removes all the scum, but I'm just quite happy just to remove it by a spoon just before we jar it up, so that's what I'm going to look to do. The other thing is, use a spoon to check for your sets, because all you need to do is like literally a little dribble on either corner, and so you can really just check it and make sure it is set properly. Right, so as you can see, I think that's nearly ready for a check for a set, so I'm going to literally just take my plate out in a second. I'm literally going to turn off the hob, and literally I'm going to pull it off, move it forward, because as you can see on the edge here, that's all that scum. We don't want that, so I'm going to remove it off in a second. The other pan is nearly there, it's not far off, so I'm going to leave that another 30 seconds to a minute and see if it's ready after that. And then, like I say, I'll check both the pans at the same time. Right, so at that point now where I'm going to check for a set, so I've got my nice cold plate here. I'm going to literally put a little spoonful of each of the jams on either corner, doesn't matter which, because I can work it out. But what I will do is I will put a little marker on one for which one's which. Again, you can check it however you like, but I'm going to do it this way. There is another way by using sugar thermometers, but I'm not really happy with that one because I've had a couple of chances where it's not worked, so I would prefer this method. There is that option if you want to try it. Let me know in the comments. I mean, you may know you might have found it's an easier way than this, so that'd be great. Right, so what I did was the back pan has got a little bit more fruit in, the front pan is more liquid in, so that's the difference between the two for the set. So I'm going to literally put in the fridge now for about 3 to 4 minutes. That should be more than enough time to make me see if it's a set ready for it. Right, I just want to show you something quickly here. If you can see this is crinkling. This means it's got a skin, so that means it's almost guaranteed for a set, which is really good news. Same with the other pan. So I'm just going to check the sets now, make sure it's got a crinkle, and I'm going to show you what that means. I'm going to remove all the scum, like this little scum bit around the edge, and then I'm going to bottle it up, which is good news. Okay, so what you want to do is push it. If it crinkles, when you push it, and it stays where it is, like that, there's a definitive line, that means it's set, so it's ready to be bottled. Right, so this is all the scum that I've got rid of from the side of the jam, which is not a lot, but it still needs to be removed, which is good. I've now put all the jam into one pan, so literally now I'm going to pour the amaretto in, and you can't do this until the end because otherwise it just doesn't work. I don't know why. I think because you're on a rolling boil, it'll just evaporate too much of the alcohol and you don't get the flavour as well. So now what I'm going to just quickly do is pour in the amaretto, and here is my jar with my jam funnel ready to be potted. Seal it up, and I'm going to wrap this video up in a minute. Right, so the amaretto is just going straight in. And then a quick stir, and then I'm going to pot it up. Right, so that's all the amaretto now mixed in. Just looking good. Now at this point you definitely don't want the kids about because this is very, very, very hot. So please, no kids at this point, and please adults, just do it on your own, please. Right, so at the moment I like using the ladle. So literally ladle into the thing and let it fill up. The other thing I will say is always do hot to hot. It always seems to settle much, much better. Try not to let it go cold before you pot it up. And there we go. So I'm just going to finish off filling this up now, and then I'm going to finish off the video. Right, so before we finish, I'm going to literally try a little tiny bit to make sure it's okay. So it's on the spoon, it's not too much, I've blown on it so it's nice and cool. Oh, it's sublime. It is one of my best jams you'll ever make, and it's so easy, and it always makes sure the raspberries is the one you try and start with first, because if you start with raspberries you're almost guaranteed a set, so you'll get your confidence going and it'll make you think about doing other jams as well. So that's my perfect raspberry and amaretto jam. So as always, if you like it, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, come join the food family, and as always, I love you, you're legends, peace out.